Hello and welcome. Kerry here from Healing Humanity, the power of a proper human diet. I've got my new shirt on today. And today I'm thankful, grateful, blessed, and honored to welcome Coach Stephen back to the channel. Welcome, Coach Stephen. How are you?
I'm very well, Kerry. And just for people that don't know what time it is here in the UK, it's just gone 1:15 after midnight. So I look very tired.
Right? I appreciate you coming on. You're a carnivore, so I guess you don't get too tired, but you're hanging in there for us. That's incredible. I really appreciate Coach Stephen coming on. I just want to say, while people are jumping on here, I have a link in the description below for Coach Stephen and his website and YouTube and everything. And I highly encourage everyone to go watch. This isn't flattery. I watch a lot of carnivore content, and every time I watch Coach Stephen and Richard Smith, you guys are often together. You guys are some of the best in this space, 100%, answering questions, doing the videos. I really appreciate everything you're doing. Maybe before we kick things off, as people are still jumping on here, Coach Stephen, would you mind just telling people a little bit about yourself and your background?
Yeah. Well, the background is just wood. But anyway, I'm 61 and I started my low carb journey 11 years ago on my 50th birthday. And I started off as a low carb sort of guy and then went keto. And then when I got to age 55, I joined MeatRx with Dr. Sean Baker and went into my carnivore journey. But before that, I was a high carb advocate, an advanced personal trainer, and I got trained up to be a specialist practitioner in obesity and diabetes. And it was then that I realized that everything I'd learned about nutrition was wrong, because I was having absolutely abject failure trying to help people with obesity and diabetes while eating lots of carbohydrates. I'm one of those people that likes to be trained. So yes, I had that certificate to do that qualification. But I've also got an honours degree in physiology and health sciences, and also trained in phlebotomy and hematology. So I like the labs. But my personal reason for changing was because I was doing everything that the food guidelines told me to do, and yet I was getting fatter and sicker. I was becoming allegedly pre-diabetic. By the way, that's just a marketing phrase, but people still believe it. And I did at the time. I had lower left quadrant pain because both my parents had died when I was very young. My mother had colon cancer, even though she followed the food guidelines to the T. She had, the worse her colon got, the more the doctors forced fibre down her, and it just got worse and worse. So by the time I was 23, I didn't have any parents. I'd also lost a girlfriend to breast cancer. But I still believed all the guidelines. So I didn't smoke, I didn't drink, I avoided red meat, I didn't eat fat. And I did lots of moving. So I was moving all the time. So I was doing everything you would think would make me superhuman. And it all caught up on me. All the carbs caught up on me in my 40s. And even though I was running 10 miles 3 times a week, I just get in that muffin top. And then it was just embarrassing as a personal trainer, because I literally was doing absolutely everything I could to look good. Like I say, I was also getting pains, lots of gas. I had a terrible rash on my forehead, looked like somebody got a strawberry and smashed it on my head. So everything was going wrong basically, and then it pretty much all resolved. Little low-level things. I'd always had athlete's foot for 30, maybe 35 years. Did everything that they told you to do to get rid of athlete's foot, using a hairdryer in my trainers and lots of different powders and everything. And as soon as I went keto, that completely evaporated. I'm also deaf. I lip read. I use subtitles when I'm on here as well. And the only time my hearing has ever improved was once I went low carb. Well, actually, when I say it improved, it was always plummeting in a certain sort of very straight line. It was just getting worse and worse and worse. I've been wearing hearing aids since I was 23, so I've got lots of data. But then when I went low carb, the deterioration lessened, sort of started to get better, really, I suppose. Leveled out, and then marginally better hearing actually since I've been carnivore. So it's been quite a shocking journey, because lots of things that I was led to believe were chronic and irreversible, like diabetes, are definitely not chronic, and definitely not irreversible. You can definitely reverse type 2 diabetes. So the biggest thing I've learned is not to believe things and to,
Right.
study and use my eyes and ears and look at what actually really happens, clinical experience, what people present like. That's the most important thing we can, latch on to. I think your channel is fantastic. I love what you're doing. I love the effort you're putting in, but your information is so clear. I like the fact it isn't snarky. I think the only time I've ever thought I wish it was snarky was the recent one about Lane Norton, who is just so disingenuous and such a bully, but you don't do that. You just tell the truth about what actually happens to real people. You are an example yourself. So my background is trying to support people like yourself and try to emulate what you're doing and do it in the UK and try and get as many people to follow and join the group and spread the word, really.
I love it. I found incredible healing by fixing my diet, and I've heard so many stories of others doing the same. And now you are sort of dedicating your life to coaching individuals to do that. What's it like for you, Coach Stephen, when you find someone who was maybe hopeless and you've led them on this path and they've fixed their metabolic health and they've found healing like I have or like you have? What's that like for you when you take someone through that journey?
Well, yeah, it chokes me, to be honest. As you know, when I tried to do a talk at your place, I was talking about some real people, and I just got a bit emotional. Firstly, it's just so rewarding. I mean, the person themselves is doing it all. It's not me that does it. It's them listening and putting those things into action, because it's all well and good saying, maybe try this, but if they don't try it or they have all that pushback from their families and it's really difficult, but it's endless. And yeah, I can talk about extreme stuff, like somebody I dealt with who was given 2 weeks to live, and that was 6 years ago. So reversing kidney function, getting kidney function back is probably the best way to put it. Coming off the diabetic meds, coming off their blood pressure medications, sleeping, having more energy. I mean, I had a message the other day, the best sleep I've had for 30 years. Just every week someone says something that's absolutely so stark. Oh, I've just got into trousers that I couldn't wear, or pants as you call it in America, I haven't been able to wear for 30 years. I can get into stuff that I wore when I was 20, and they can't believe it. Just feeling so energized. It's just endless, and it's really rewarding. And when you think it's so simple, and there's a little bit of me that gets a bit cross, because you think, wow, this information is still suppressed.
Yeah.
It is such an easy thing to try to change just somebody's, dietary habits, and the doctors and the powers that be don't want people to know about it. And so you end up really being a little bit skeptical about every single news article, every single newspaper article, everything you read, everything you hear. And you actually do realize that it's a big conspiracy to stop people being healthy. And it really is. It doesn't matter what I say to many people. Think, well, yeah, you've got tinfoil hat on, but we keep getting proved right.
Yeah.
We say, and it's difficult to buy meat, difficult to buy eggs, difficult to pay for your energy supplies. Everything that we predicted is happening. So we need to push back and just from the ground up tell the powers that be, this is the best way to eat. This is sustainable. This is the best way for the planet. So it's a hard ask, but I think this is why I want to do stupid things like be here at 1 o'clock in the morning, because I think the more we spread the word,
24-hour live streams.
Yeah, we did those, didn't we? So but it's worth it, because you have to push. You have to keep pushing, because their noise is so big.
Yeah.
We just have to keep pushing back.
And you mentioned like conspiracy theories and things like that. And it's almost like everything we're told, it's not even that it's just wrong. It's almost, you can almost look at the exact opposite of whatever you're told. And that's where you should probably start investigating in many cases where the truth is. It's crazy how inverted things have become, but it's hard not to be passionate and want to share this when you find healing, but then you look around in the world and there's still so many people sicker now than ever before. And the thing that really gets me passionate about this is I'm a grown man. I found healing. I could just move on. But when you look at the next generation, they're way sicker than they're going to be way sicker than I was. And I was really darn sick. The chemicals and the processed foods and the ingredients we have now are way worse than when I was even their age. So it's hard not to be passionate about it. But I'm so glad you're doing this and you're coaching people. I don't think there's a bigger, better calling in the world than being able to help someone find their health. After interviewing so many people on my YouTube channel and for the documentary, that's been one of the biggest things I've learned is people are excited when they lose 100 pounds. People are excited when they reverse their diabetes. But so many of the people I've interviewed are like, I feel like I'm living for the first time now. The name of the documentary is kind of crazy, Healing Humanity. But that's one of the reasons we named it that too, because people feel like they've got their humanity back. Like this whole time I was deprived. I could have been living, but I was just a shadow of what I could have been because I had brain fog and fatigue and depression and all of these issues. So it's hard not to be passionate about it. And the last thing I'll just say real quick before we jump into some of the topics, I'm so happy that you're doing the coaching because when I first started this, I was kind of cynical. Like, what do you need a coach for, right? Just eat meat. How hard could that be? But I was a fool. I was very wrong. And I think the coaching is one of the most important things for people starting because we're living in a world where if you're eating this way, you are the oddest of the odd. You are definitely the weird one out. And nobody tries to help you with this sort of addiction. That's what it was for me. I was addicted to the food prior. And if you're trying to get over an alcohol addiction or a drug addiction, people usually try to help you, but you have a food addiction and most people don't help you. So I just think back, like with all of the healing I experienced, knowing what I know now and how good I feel, no doubt I would mortgage my entire house. I would sell everything. I would start over from scratch in order to have my health back. Because if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. You're just barely getting by. So I think the coaching part of it is just critical. And so the topic of the video today was I was so wrong about carnivore. And we'll touch on that in just a second. But we'd love to hear from everyone here in the chat. There's a whole bunch of people in here. And we got some friends from the UK. George is in the chat also. And I see Lewis in there. If you'd like to post a question with hashtag ribeye, we're going to give away a Healing Humanity shirt. I'll randomly pick one of those questions. So hashtag ribeye, either with your best question for Coach Steven or your testimony of healing. We love to hear those. Hashtag ribeye on either of those. And at the end of the call, we'll do a drawing for that. The reason for the title of the video, I was so wrong about carnivore, is because Coach Steven, I was so wrong about carnivore. When I heard about this, I was like, yeah, it's an interesting way to lose weight. I tried keto before. I understand what's keto. This is a little bit different because it's keto. And even after I started healing on carnivore, I was still just, yeah, man, ketosis is so powerful. This is great. Those things are true, but I started realizing and learning there's so many other things that change in our body. It's almost like when you fix your metabolic health, you just go down to your natural weight as a side effect, but so many other things heal. Like I started learning about the liver, and I actually found out after doing carnivore that I was diagnosed with fatty liver amongst all the other issues I had. But you start learning about the liver and the mitochondria and the hormonal changes you have when we go carnivore. So I thought it would be an important discussion to talk about some of those things because I have a lot of new carnivores to the channel and people that are carnivore curious. And most people come to this just like, yeah, it's a cool way to lose a couple pounds. And then they're maybe not as serious as they should be. When you start to realize all of the other things that change, just like Coach Steven was saying, your hearing improving. Talk to people whose vision has improved. There's so many other things end up improving deeper than just a diet. So those are some of the topics we were going to talk about today. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, Coach Steven.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Yes, loads. Because, yeah, although I wouldn't maybe frame it the same as you, because I think my journey was such a long transition from low carb to keto, then carnivore. And obviously being in the space as someone that's helping people out. But I can say other people's confusion, I definitely put that right, because it isn't just a weight loss diet. And in fact, many people, a huge percentage actually join for weight loss, but that just ends up being the side effect because other things that they didn't expect would improve. And I can give you a long list of stuff. So autoimmune conditions, allergies, they go. So that personally, that happened to me. I mean, I was highly allergic child, Mann as well, even in, hay fever and all types of fish. Twice I was hospitalized for a reaction to fish, and I don't have those allergies at all. And I see that in pretty much all the people that I consult with who have autoimmune issues. They see some level of resolution. Some of it goes completely, some of it's just a lot better for them to manage. It's a lot easier. Cognitive performance. So, yesterday I had somebody saying to me, I can't believe it. I'm now putting myself out into things that are really difficult. I used to shy away from different jobs at work because I just didn't think I could do it. And again, I experienced that. I've done 2 degrees in my life, 2 honours degrees, when I did my English honours degree. And that's something that, I felt was a natural thing for me. I found that harder than doing the physiology and health sciences in later life. When I did it, I was low carb, and I found it easier to do that. Joint health, just pains in elbows, knees, necks and all that seems to go because there's less inflammation. So again, that would be somebody saying, oh, well, it's the weight loss. Well, no, it isn't, because I have people, they don't lose a ton of weight straight away, but they get these benefits. Just their overall metabolic health, so they sleep better, their energy is better. And the biggest one is emotional. People feel more stable, more calm, which could be as simple as the fact that your blood glucose is a lot more stable. I think it's just that. I think the stable blood glucose will give you a stable mood. And I always go back to when I was eating carbs, and I can remember having a breakfast, with my porridge oats or oatmeal, as you call it, skim milk, blueberries, a little bit of honey, because that's great for you apparently. And 2 hours later, I was starving because I'd had the sugar high and then I had the sugar crash. So I think that stability is a big plus, a really big plus.
Yeah, absolutely. That's been one thing I've noticed as well. We talk about when we go to these meetups, it's like the carnivore zen. Everyone's just, what's up with this group? Why do I love these people so much? It's so much fun hanging around with people. One other interesting thing I've noticed after interviewing a lot of carnivores too is, besides the carnivore zen, is this just newfound gratitude that they didn't have before. Interviewed so many people that say that, like, I feel I'm just grateful now. I'm just, probably because they overcame some major health issue. It's hard not to be grateful, but it's pretty fun hanging around with people that are carnivore zen, happy, uplifted mood, and then just grateful for everything. It kind of makes you think too. I try to stay positive, right? But then you think that's pretty much should be the default setting for all humans. Imagine if the whole world was that way. What a different place we'd be living in.
I mean, and yes, I've got to be honest with you. I'm absolutely gobsmacked how many messages you're getting where people are telling their stories. I can't stop looking at it because it's just constant, isn't it? There's so many people saying, "Oh, it's been life-changing," and wow.
I don't understand how this is not front page news. We were just at Tampa at Hack Your Health, and we did a presentation. I don't know, there's maybe 200 people there. And I asked them in the beginning, who here found healing through a proper human diet? And of course, almost all the hands went up. And there's people, cancer, diabetes reversal, autoimmune disorders. And it's like, how is this not front page news? It is absolutely crazy that I don't think there's, obviously I'm biased because I'm in the space, but there's nothing else in the world like this: diet, exercise, medicine, lifestyle, where you see this amount of healing like we're seeing here in the comments, but also in person. Let's look at a couple of comments here. Hey, we got George Goodenough. Hello from this Sunday in the UK where the weather is miserable. George is awesome.
I can't believe he's up. I thought I'd be the only one up at this time, but there you go.
George never sleeps. We got Carnivore Brothers, Ashley, Charger Mopar, Rick.
Oh, wow.
We got a question. With the price of beef, I have had to substitute with chicken and pork. Is there anything to be aware of or to help improve chicken and pork? What do you think on that one, Coach Stephen?
Well, that's really interesting because I eat a lot of pork. I'm not one of these people that's anti-pork, but you do have to be careful where you get it from. I mean, if you're getting it from a supermarket, I get it from butchers, and I know where that pork has come from. Beef prices are brutal, absolutely. And, I hear this constantly. It's difficult. I find it difficult. the cost of living in the UK is particularly bad. And you could do really well with chicken. You can do really well with pork as well. I definitely think that's okay. Yeah, there are some. It's lower in most of the things like iron and carnitine and B12, lower in zinc and taurine. But if you eat the dark meat in particular, the skin as well, that will really help. That makes it more nutrient dense. So if you're buying chicken, I always do chicken thighs actually and drumsticks. I think they're the best source of meat. In fact, the chicken breast, which I used to think was the prime thing to have, in my 20s, like I say, when I was high carb, that is very lean. Of course, you can add butter or tallow, olive oil, even if you're not 100% carnivore, and you can add that sort of thing. Biggest thing with chicken is freshness. Just make sure it's really fresh. It degrades quicker than beef, so that would be that. Pork, strange enough, the iron content is quite close to beef, so that's good. It's got a lot of B vitamins, good fat content. So, yep. And it's tasty. So pork belly, pork shoulder is very good. Pork ribs. I'm going to put a reel out tomorrow from the pork ribs I had today, which were great. Then pork loin. So, yeah, pork is obviously nearer to beef nutritionally, but they're good options. They're not bad options. Put it this way. If you said to me, here's a person on the standard American diet, really on point with that, whatever that means, or here's a vegan and they're really, really doing the best they can with vegan, and here's another person and they're eating pork and chicken, who's going to be the healthiest? I'd say the person on pork and chicken.
Absolutely. All right. Let's see. We got Shelly. Hashtag ribeye. I have been carnivore for more than 2 years, off all my meds, post heart attack and menopause. Never felt this great before. I am 61 now and feel like I'm 20. It's amazing. Thank you. Incredible. I feel like I'm 20. I have heard many, many times.
Yes, exactly.
George has a question for Stephen. Can you tell us about the TV event on December 8th? All I really know is that I'm supposed to be there, hernia allowing.
Okay. Lee Copus and myself are doing a mini meet up in Kent, and we're both speaking there just for 15 minutes because it's a BBC documentary. So we both know it's potentially going to be a hit piece, and Carl's there as well. Carl Day, is that his surname? And we were approached, or Carl was approached, and he got Lee and myself involved. And we're doing this little mini meet, and we're going to talk about the benefits of carnivore. And apparently the BBC are going to do a sort of series of different shows about different things that are in the spotlight. There's going to be 2 doctors, which we know are going to say how bad carnivore is. But in the end, both Lee and myself and Carl thought, well, we've got our eyes open. We know that we can say what we want to say, and we will give our best to get some of that information out, because there's no such thing as bad publicity. I think we might be able to get that message out, and people will see beyond the smoke screen that the BBC tried to produce this. They tried to make it seem like they're very impartial, but they're not. They're just not. They recently did a nutrition science panel. There was not one meat eater there. There was 5 panelists. They're all alleged experts. They all thought plant-based eating was the best. And when the host said, "What's your favourite foods?" not one really had any decent protein. They were all things like biscuits and cereal and plants and stuff like that. So, so it's a BBC. Is it going to be a hit piece? I've been blunt with them, said, is it a hit piece? They're telling us it isn't, but it's the BBC. I don't trust the BBC. I don't watch the BBC anymore. I gave up about 10 years ago. Don't listen to the BBC radio. It's difficult for me to listen to radio anyway, but they're the most untrustworthy organisation in Britain. They're just the propaganda arm of the government and the agenda to stop people eating meat. So I don't think it's going to be a fair show, but that's what we're doing, George.
Wonderful. All right. So the topic of the video was I was so wrong about carnivore, and we touched on some things, and we got some more questions here. I just wanted to say real quick, I wanted to hear your take on one thing, Coach Steven. I mentioned the liver. That was one rabbit hole that I went down that I really was kind of clueless about the liver before. And I feel like if individuals that are considering fixing their metabolic health, if they could just see their liver and the state it was in and how quickly it can heal, I think they would be more likely or excited to do carnivore. So often they're looking at the weight only scale and they're not looking at things sort of internally like that. But outside of the liver, I wanted to hear your take on another subject, and that is our gut bacteria, gut biome. A lot of the good doctors, some of them are like 50-50. It doesn't matter what you eat. Some it does. I recently had Dr. Sean O'Mara on, and he had some really interesting takes. I myself took antibiotics for years and all sorts of medication and standard American diet and all of that I feel like has really wrecked my gut. But do you have any thoughts on maybe like fermented foods or fermented dairy or doing things to try to restore gut bacteria, gut biome?
Not really, because I think it's still in its infancy. I like what Sean O'Mara says, but the probiotics we've got are what we eat, because the bugs in our body will only be able to survive on what we eat. So we make our own gut microbiome. So when you actually look at the research, they are essentially, when you boil it all down, they say that the gut microbiome that's healthy is one possessed by a healthy person. So they've got that circular logic. And I can give you a really good example because I had my alpha diversity tested and I did all the advanced gut microbiome testing. And when I got my report, it said it was ideal. And you couldn't get a higher score. And it also said that the beneficial bacteria was absolutely ideal. They used the phrase ideal, they scored it, and all that. And the bad bacteria, that was ideal. So I got all the top ratings for all those three things, and they rated my diet 0 out of 5, which shows it isn't a clinical judgment, it's an algorithm. There's no joined up thinking, because I actually approached the lab and said, well, hang on a minute, if I've got the ideal gut microbiome, the absolutely ideal alpha diversity, I've got the lowest level of bad bacteria possible, how can my diet be 0? Because I've got the best readings. It's physically impossible for my diet to get 0 out of 5 as a score, which it was just the people are so entrenched in this like a little echo chamber. But carnivore is bad for you. Well, it really isn't, is it? You've just told me I'm ideal. So that's the sort of thing. I mean, Ben Azadi, I think he did a big thing on Richard's program where he'd been many years keto and thought his readings were really great. He did a 90-day carnivore experiment and his gut microbiome improved beyond belief. So I don't have fermented foods. I'm not overly bothered about fermented foods. I think the stomach acid is so acidic, not many things can survive getting into the stomach and getting through. So, and coming out alive at the other end. So I think what's in our gut microbiome is a product of what we eat and how it's been broken down and all that sort of stuff. Now, that does not deny people they've got kefir or they've got sauerkraut and they feel better. If they do, then that's their experience, and I'm 100% behind them. If they think it really works for them, that's absolutely great. So I'm maybe sounding like I'm on the fence. Personally, I don't think you need those things, but if some people get benefit from it, that's really great. Obviously, people can have spores, so that's a way around the gut microbiome being, the gut bacteria being obliterated by the stomach acid. But I just feel it's still in its infancy. We still don't really know what a lot of the matter is when we do the testing. We still don't really know what is a good gut microbiome and what's bad. So for me, I think I'd go back to clinical presentation. If you feel good with what you're doing, that's great. If you've been on antibiotics for a long period of time, yeah, there's a lot of healing going on, but just eating this way does it, because your bacteria will work it out. Oh, well, this is the incoming food. This is what we can live on. This is what we can thrive on. So just think of your food as the probiotic.
Right. Well, yeah, outside of the fermented vegetables and foods and things like that. To your point, I think just a lot of people that change their diet from the standard American diet to carnivore start feeling that. I've talked to so many people around 3 weeks in where they're like, my gut just feels so much better. It just feels like it's not there anymore. And it's probably exactly like you said, you change the food that they're putting in there and helping those things. But yeah, it's one of those things where I heard someone say our gut bacteria, we know about as much about it as we do about the ocean, like maybe 1% or something. It's
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
All right, we got a question from Epiphany Jane. Hashtag ribeye. For those that just jumped on, we're giving away a Healing Humanity shirt. Post your best question or your testimony with hashtag ribeye. I stopped sunscreen, but I have vitiligo. So should I still use something to cover my white spots?
Right. I mean, that's a really interesting question. Firstly, I'm not a doctor, so this isn't medical advice. But I can give you information. I mean, I don't actually believe that sunscreen is beneficial. Well, you can tell it's late at night here. But if you've got white spots, then obviously there's a lack of melanin there. So it isn't just a cosmetic thing. It is slightly more susceptible to damage. So blanket sun avoidance isn't the answer, but very sensible exposure is. So don't do unprotected, intense sun exposure, that's because that would be counterproductive. But you do need to have, some exposure to the sun, because that's how you're going to make your cholesterol. That's how you're going to feel better and have higher levels of nitric oxide and all that sort of stuff. So I just think just be very sensible as you can be. Don't burn. Don't get anywhere near it. The sort of levels, if you didn't have that condition, that some people are going out. So early morning is better, late afternoon, obviously not midday. But I just don't be intense really, and just be sensible really.
All right. And then from Amy Hasp, do others find themselves hopeful again? I'm the most hopeful I have ever been in my entire life. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Well, this is the biggest bugbear ever. What I tend to find is so many people come to me, and the doctors and the mainstream and the legacy media have taken away all their hope. So the phrase about type 2 diabetes, the classic one is it's chronic, progressive, and you'll be on these meds for life. Right? There's no hope in those sentences, none whatsoever, and it's not true. That's the thing. You were talking about the liver, for instance. Well, the liver is a remarkable organ. You can take 70% of the liver away and it will still regenerate. And we know that from transplants, we know. So the healing of humanity, there we go, let's get a little plug in, is evident. It happens. So, you can improve your situation. You can definitely do that with diet, without a shadow of a doubt. Too many people report back to me, the doctor said diet has no effect on it. Right. Okay. Well, we know that's not true, because as soon as you change your diet, it affects you. So they're flat out just lying. And I never used to use that word, because I thought, I don't want to be too hard on them, but it's coming from not a nefarious sort of place, but they genuinely believe it, but they're being lied to, and they're passing on that lie. They're not doing their own research. So up above them, the food guidelines, the standard duty of care, they're just following their orders. Awful expression, isn't it? But it's just simply not true. And hope is also something that is important. If I had twins who were exactly the same in every single way, and they one came to me and said, I'm doing that race today that my twin brother's in, how do you think I'm going to do? And I said to one, I think you're going to be great. You're looking good. I've watched you in training. It's going to be fantastic. And then they went out, and the other one came in and said, what do you think I'm going to do? And I'm like, I don't know. I've got no idea. I think you're going to be awful. Just gut feeling. Well, they're going to perform differently because they're differently motivated. Absolutely. Hope makes a difference without a shadow of a doubt. And, this is also proven with pharmaceuticals, because whenever they test a pharmaceutical, they always have a placebo group. and some people in the placebo group get better. Right. Well, you've just actually scientifically proven that hope makes a difference. If you think something's going to work for you, there's a strong possibility that you're going to feel better without a shadow of a doubt. So I think this way of eating, you've got all these stories already flooding through, all these comments. Well, how hopeful can you be? If you, wow, that he's reversed type 2 diabetes. Oh, that one's lost 100 pounds. Oh, that one's got reversed their kidney function and it's now great. Oh, that one's sleeping better. That's hopeful. There's hope for everybody. You can be better than you were the day before. And, obviously you can't hope a broken leg to be better instantly, but, it's definitely going to give you quicker healing, whatever the situation is. If someone builds you up and gives you a lot of positivity and some real reasons to believe that hope is absolutely, worth giving to that person. So that's what the anecdotes do.
It's such a great topic. I'm glad we brought this up too, because like you mentioned type 2 diabetes, for example. I've got family members and loved ones, and they were diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and it's almost like victim blaming. Like, this is just you, your genetics are weird, you have this thing, it's a fluke. The one that really bothers me the most after interviewing so many people over the last couple of years is cancer diagnosis. In almost all cases, it's hopeless. There's very rarely a plan. And if there is a plan, it's only chemotherapy, medication, and coincidentally, whatever makes the hospital millions of dollars. There's never any talk of nutrition or diet. Go have some cookies and ensure, and you can do this. And not even a plan. Like, if there's just like, we're going to do this, this, and this, it's so much better to have some sort of a plan than none. I think it's just one of the most criminal things that goes on when people are diagnosed and not given any plan or hope. All right. Lewis, get your questions in. Thanks, Lewis. We got a message here from Sarah. I've been carnivore since the first day of summer 2025, and I don't suffer anymore joint pain. My fasting blood sugar fluctuates from day to day, though. Fired my doctor. All right.
Well done.
Yeah. All right. And we've got Denny, hashtag ribeye, 1 year down from 130 to 100 pounds at 5'1". Awesome. Good job. We got 6-year carnivore. Starting weight was 445. Reverse type 2 diabetes and hypertension. Current weight is 160 at 8% body fat. 6 foot tall, age 45 male. I lost all that fat in the first year. I have maintained easy as pie. Wow. 445. Amazing.
Easy as steak.
Yeah, there you go. Easy as ribeye. All right. We've got Lynn Jenkins. Question, 75 years old, many health issues. My biggest why is totally numb, painful hands. Keto for several years now, 78 days strict carnivore. Any tips to heal nerves more quickly?
Yeah. Well, thank you for putting the question on. Painful hands are really quite a thing to manage, because my wife did suffer with painful hands, but that all went. Firstly, it's patience. Sorry to say that, but the more you eat this way, the less likely you're going to be to have those pains. Good quality fats will help, because the myelin sheaths, the things that go around your nerves, you need good insulation, good signaling. So I think if you can get some omega-3s from fish, I think that's the best thing you could possibly do. Add some fish into your diet, or you could just, I don't know enough about this person to make any differences, but let's just broadly say moving is very good as well. So if you find that, it's when you're gripping, then you actually need to keep moving your hands and gripping and doing stuff, and do as much as you can to just move them in different ways and spread out, because motion is lotion. The more you move it, what will happen is the synovial fluid around your joints will actually improve. This is also down to the fact that you have better bile production, better essential fats coming into your body. But I also feel just be mindful of temperature changes as well. So if you go out into the cold and you come into the hot, and you find that the pain is worse, then I would invest in some good gloves. I know this sounds really just very simple. My wife used the Cyactive, the Cerul products. The only supplements I use actually is Stem Enhance, so I use that. But she used one of the other products, which was an anti-inflammatory called Cyactive, which is a collagen thing, and that really helped. But I think if you eat this way, you don't need to do that. I think if you just have the patience, I just feel a bit of movement and making sure you eat enough fat, good quality fats, take out all the seed oils, do all the things that you should do, be as strict as possible. Another big one, which people get very surprised about, is tea. I would take tea out because of the fluoride in there. I think that's quite damaging, and I've seen people take tea out and get big improvements. Sometimes it's dairy that you need to take out, but I don't know enough about you to be very specific. But they're the sort of things that you could look at. Coffee is another one because of the acrylamides. Anything that's roasted has acrylamides, and that can accumulate in your joints. So I don't want to spoil your day, but if you're drinking tea and coffee, I would take out coffee first and see if that makes a difference. And then if it doesn't, put the coffee back and take the tea out and see if that makes a difference. Another thing is supplementing with vitamin C can cause this as well, because obviously vitamin C degrades down to oxalate, and we don't need vitamin C. So lots of different things you could try, but it's a common thing I've heard, and it's a common thing that I get success with people that I consult with, that it does improve 6 to 8 weeks after. But that's normally because I've got the whole health profile of exactly what they're eating and exactly what they're doing. But hopefully that broad advice will be helpful.
Absolutely. That just made me think of something, just a quick story of healing. When we were at Hack Your Health, this young woman came up to me, Coach Steven, to tell me a story. She watched a video I did on my channel with Renee, and Renee's channel is Eating Meat to Walk. And Renee had CIPD, which I think is talking about myelin sheath and nerve stuff. It's like a cousin to MS. It's not quite MS, but it's similar. But long story short, this young lady, she was 75% paralyzed. And after 60 days carnivore, she's running.
Wow.
I'm like, what? 75% paralyzed, 60 days carnivore, running, going up and down steps and doing all sorts of things. And that's why these stories I'm so passionate about. They're so powerful. She heard Renee's story, and she had the exact same condition, CIPD, which I'd never heard of my entire life before I talked to Renee. And she was inspired by Renee's story, and she started carnivore in 60 days. So incredible, some of the healing. All right. Juliet has a question for Coach Steven. How did you meet Coach Richard? Love your Sunday Live.
Oh, thank you. Well, actually, I was doing a success story, and not with Richard. I'd never met Richard. I think it was about 3 years ago. Didn't even know his name. I didn't know about Keto Pro or anything like that. And this guy was telling me his success story, and he was talking to me about Richard as if I knew Richard. And I do my interviews as is. I don't tend to edit, and so live I just said, I don't know Richard, who is he? It sounds like a great guy, I should contact him. Oh yes, I'll do it for you, because he's Welsh as well, this guy. So he just gave me the contact details, and I think I emailed him and said, you sound like a great bloke, would you like to come on to my channel? And he came onto my channel, and as you know, Kerry, he is a great bloke. And I was thinking of doing the 24-hour live stream, which was the world's first. No one had done it before, 24-hour live carnivore live stream. And I just said, would you be stupid enough to want to do that with me? And he went, yeah, it sounds like a thing. So we did it. And we've not looked back since then. And, his channel's grown, not as much as I think it deserves to for the information that's on there. But good bloke, very good bloke.
So for those that don't know, we did a 24-hour live stream after Coach Steven and Richard did one. And I've said this before, but you guys are better men than me and Adam are, because you guys decided to do it again. And I'm never doing it again. I don't ever.
It's tough.
It was tough. Yeah, it was hard. And we had Dr. Chafee. God bless Dr. Chafee. He's the best. He came on at like 3 a.m. for about 4 hours and saved us because we were fading quickly.
He is brilliant. He's very generous to us as well.
Yeah, he's amazing. You know, he was the first person when I decided to do the documentary. He was the first person I asked, and he said, "100%, I'm in. I'm doing it." I'm like, "Oh, really? It's that easy? I just got to ask." But yeah,
yes,
he's the best. All right, Shannon Gray reversed my diabetes, NASH, high blood pressure, among so many other things. Amazing. All right, so we're going to be doing a drawing here shortly for a Healing Humanity shirt. If you have a question or a testimony, question for Coach Steven, post it with hashtag ribeye. We've got a couple other here. Heather, carnivore for 2.5 years. So grateful to have found Kerry and Dr. Barry, found healing in skin, health, hair, type 2, and joint health. Awesome. Love to hear that. RM Guest, after going keto, then carnivore, lost 80 pounds and got off all my heart medications. Thank you. Here's a question. Gabriel's asking, can you get gut inflammation on a carnivore diet? And what's the difference between animal protein and plant protein?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the carnivore diet isn't a magic wand. So a lot of it is about not eating other things. It's what you're not doing. So gut distress normally improves with carnivore. If you're having some sort of gut inflammation, my best guess would be you're possibly including something that for you is inflammatory. Normally that's dairy, normally. But it is unlikely, and it could be something that isn't anything to do with the diet as well. So this is one of the things: you go carnivore, you get something, and you know, it's something that isn't going quite well, and you sort of immediately think, well, it must be the diet, but it could be mold exposure, or it could be some other toxin, it could be endocrine disruptors from plastic bottles or something like that. So I don't think it's impossible to get gut inflammation on the carnivore diet, but I think it's extremely rare. I've never had that. No one's ever said that to me. But they've always said that their gut inflammation improves, or their gut function, or their toilet habits gets better. If you've got some small amount of plants in, that might be doing it. So animal and plant proteins are completely different. So animal proteins, you get the complete 9 essential amino acids and all the others in pretty much a perfect profile, whereas with plants you have to plan it to be able to get all 9, because there's no singular plant that has all 9 essential amino acids for human health. So you have to build up a lot of different sources of plant proteins, and because it's less bioavailable, you have to eat a lot more of it to get the same sort of bang for your buck. But the biggest thing is, if you're having inflammation, and you're including plants, is the thing called glycans. So this is a thing I think that our mutual friend Robert Kiltz talks about a fair bit, which is glycosylation, which is proteins which have sugars attached, enzymatically attached. So it's meant to be there. But these glycans are different in plants than they are in humans. So we have our own glycans as mammals, and then plants have their own, and yeast has their own, and fungus has their own. So if you're including, so I've just slipped in there fungus, if you're having some mushrooms, for instance, these are foreign glycans. So they could be looked at by your body as an invader, and therefore you could be getting some gut inflammation from that. So I think a lot of the autoimmune things are down to these little bits that we still leave in. Some people still leave in onions or some sort of plant material, and that can cause a problem. So as that says part of the question, I'm thinking maybe you're still having some plant protein. So I would take the plants out if that's what it is. Just a guess.
All right. And here's a question that might be good for Coach Steven. What lab studies should we do to get information about our health?
Right. Well, it depends on your budget, because obviously it is a bit like how long's a piece of string, because there are so many tests you can do. If you're worried about your liver, for instance, you can get FibroScans and blood tests. And and if you're worried about diabetes, then obviously fasting glucose and fasting insulin and C-peptide. So I think you can be very targeted. Now, most labs online will point you in the right direction by using some sort of tick box thing to give you the right, right test for you. So even some of them do it by your symptoms. So if you were feeling you've got some unexplained weight gain and your temperature is always either too cold or too hot, possibly you would need the full thyroid panel. But I think, firstly, the best thing is to look at yourself and how you feel and rate yourself. Your waist to height ratio is also very good. I think that is a really good thing. How is your sleep? I would rate my sleep. And I wouldn't worry too much about numbers if you're feeling really well. But if you're feeling that there's something up, you can do a real sort of broad base. In the UK, we have what's called well men blood tests or well woman blood tests, which normally about 40 different biomarkers, and it's a broad spread, and you get a complete blood count, red blood cell count, you get white blood cells, and a bit about glucose, your liver panel, kidney panel, iron panel, that sort of thing, in your biochemistry, so all your sort of electrolytes. So it's a difficult question to answer because it's also budget driven. But obviously, the more money you pay, the more biomarkers you'll get, and the better picture you'll get.
All right. And Athenian carnivore. I'm almost 6 months, 1 meal a day carnivore, and I've healed my prediabetes, allergies, IBS, skin problems, histamine intolerance, and bipolar disorder.
Oh,
had to quit dairy and coffee, salt and water only. Amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But there you go, dairy and coffee, you see?
Yeah. Okay, so we have like 100 or more comments of people finding healing, and then there's always one on the other side, but let's read this one here from Dennis. I got very sick after 2.5 years strict carnivore lion diet. I wish I'd never listened to these carnivore people on YouTube. Set me back big time. You've done some videos recently talking about this. There's 1 or 2 people that'll come on after doing carnivore for a long time, and suddenly it doesn't work anymore. Is that really true, or is there other things going on there? Or some of this is hard to comment on, just one little comment, but I always find it odd if someone's doing carnivore for like 10 years and then suddenly it just doesn't work anymore, or 2.5 years and it's working great and then it just stops. Could it be other things? Or I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, Coach Stephen.
Yeah, well, this is the yin and yang of the blood tests, because many people are worried about numbers, and they shouldn't be worried about numbers because, for instance, they'll say there's something wrong, my thyroid's tanked, but no, that hasn't actually happened because you have lower T3. It will be out of the normative ranges, but it's not tanked. It's adapted to this way of eating because you need less T3 because there's less glycolysis, and T3 is a cofactor in the breakdown of carbohydrates, moving the pyruvate across the mitochondrial membrane. So we need less T3. So some people can be led to believe that they're poorly. I'm not taking it away from the person commenting there, because they could be physically very sick. They could be in pain. I don't know what the problem is. But if what I'm seeing is a trend based purely on numbers. Oh, my blood glucose is 100 milligrams per deciliter, and that's a bit too high. I'm a bit concerned about that. We shouldn't be, because that's a physiological adaptation to this way of eating. In fact, anything up to 130 milligrams per deciliter is pretty okay. And the HbA1c is a completely unreliable marker, so that even the labs are now admitting that and going to bring out the HbA1c, which is going to be adjusted for the red blood cell life. And there's many other factors as well. Ferritin, people think it's high, but actually in this way of eating, high ferritin isn't problematic. TSH being low, I spoke to Dr. David Unwin about that, and he's noticed in his practice, 10 years as an NHS doctor, that TSH can be subclinical, but the person can be absolutely fine. So if you're looking at numbers, you're probably wrong to worry about those particular ones I just gave you. There's a few others as well. We don't need so much vitamin C, but people still take vitamin C, and that can be problematic and actually degrade down to oxalates and cause you problems. But in saying that, it might not be the diet. You see, in 2 years, a lot changes. So you could be carnivore for 2 years, but in the background, you might have, I used it earlier, mold exposure. Could be stress. Could be something else. Could be pollution. I mean, environmental factors are really not mentioned enough. I think Judy Cho's always talking about the toxic bucket, and what we're exposing ourselves to, because what makes you sick? I mean, I was playing five-a-side football and someone kicked me, but I healed very quickly, but I was still poorly for a bit. It doesn't make you bulletproof. You could have partaken in some pharmaceuticals that were pushed ever such a lot in the last 5 years, thinking that they're great. And for some people, they're not great. So it's difficult to answer. But like you say, hundreds of pluses, but it's always good to talk about the ones that, are having problems, because you want to give them some hope as well, and to look at some other areas maybe, because I still want people to be well.
Right. All right. Epiphany Jane. Last year, my husband was told his cholesterol was moderately high and pre-diabetic with an A1C of 6.4. 1 year later, after carnivore, he's lost 120 pounds. A1C 5.5 and improved his cholesterol.
Great.
Amazing. All right. Uncle Charlie has a question about bacon. How much bacon can you have on carnivore diet? My brother Louie at bacon and red meat is not good. Thank you.
Oh, well, I mean, bacon. How can that not be good?
Right.
It tastes amazing. Well, the biggest thing I try to get people to do is listen to their hunger and the satiety signals. So if you're eating bacon and you feel like, I can eat a little bit more bacon, eat a little bit more. Because at some point, your body's going to say, I don't want any more bacon. It's really that simple. If you get to your intuitive self, where hunger is driving you and satiety or fullness is stopping you, that's the best way, because your body will moderate.
I haven't gotten to the point yet where my body said no more bacon. So, and I eat a lot of it. All right. Well, we're getting near the end of the hour. Coach Stephen, just a quick question. Do you offer coaching for anyone? Is it just the UK or is it all around the world? How can people?
No, all around the world.
Okay.
All around the world. Yeah.
And
yeah. So I have a link
to connect with you.
Right. Well, the address is the ukcarnivore.com/booking. If people want to book, you can also go to the ukcarnivore.com and look at my website if you want. But for booking, it's /booking, and then you pick the region of the world that you're in. And there's instructions there. At the moment, I'm running a discount for offering 5 consultations for the price of 4, which is really good, because you can then like send your bloods before the first one. I'll do a health profile and a report, and then we can plan properly and put things into place. Or you can do a single consultation. So that's that. I'm also the ukcarnivore.substack.com if you want to see all the studies and all the I write a daily humorous scientific sort of thing about carnivore or health, things around health. People seem to like it. Well, people seem to love it, actually. So that's surprised me this year, because I only started it this year. So that's pretty good. Or you could join our school community, which is with Richard Smith. And that's a bit sort of like, there's a Facebook bit, and there's courses on there. There's premium content. There's videos. There's loads of things you could do. And we hold 3 live Q&As every single week. So you get access to ask your questions. And that's in the Low Carb School spelled SKOOL.
All right. And I have a link to your link tree in the description, and I just posted it in the chat. And before we wrap things up, I don't want to forget, because I've been known to forget before. Carnivores don't forget. We got to give the shirt giveaway right now, so we'll do that here real quick. Let me share my screen. Here we go. Hashtag ribeye. Thank you for all the questions and testimonies. So the winner of a Healing Humanity shirt in blue is Lisa Coombe. Congratulations, Lisa. You've won a Healing Humanity shirt in the color blue. And healinghumanity.movie/giveaway. If you go to healinghumanity.movie/giveaway, you can claim your shirt. Thank you so much for everyone for all of your questions. And thank you so much, Coach Stephen, for coming on and staying up late. I really appreciate it.
It's okay. I've enjoyed it, actually. And yeah, it's nice to possibly see some different people that have never seen me before, and hopefully they'll come and look at my channel as well, and they can stay up late for a bit.
Absolutely. Yeah, you always have an open invite. I appreciate you, love everything you're doing, and I love all my friends over in the UK. George is our UK ambassador, and he's trying to make sure we get some good connections, and I've been over to the UK a couple times, but absolutely love everything you're doing. So thank you so much, Coach Steven. Thank you, everyone, for your questions. We'll see you guys on the next one. Have a good night.
Good night.
All right.